Good day everyone, John from the Worship Portal here, and I just landed in Dublin. Why am I here? I'm probably going to explain that in a little bit when I'm a little less tired. It is right now about 7 a.m. Dublin time, that's 1 a.m. my home time, and I landed a couple of hours ago. I just got some breakfast in me, which, you know, getting some Irish breakfast, not a bad thing, but let me tell you why I'm here. So it's now the next day and it's windy. I apologize if that audio is not coming through very well, but I hope you enjoyed that little montage of what I saw on my first day. But what I'm doing here is I'm leading worship at a conference up in the north of Ireland. So right now we're actually in the Republic, but don't really worry, give me a second. It looks like I'm just north of Ballylongford at a bed and breakfast with a bunch of the other leaders for the conference, and we're going to be hanging out today. Yesterday you saw that we went to a castle, we're in Limerick, and today we got some other fun stuff planned. But ultimately this first week is really just us kind of traveling around Ireland a little bit and getting to know the place, getting to know the people and the culture. And I was originally planning for this to be sort of a daily vlog, but ultimately I think with the amount of, or the lack of sort of like time to edit, this will not be a daily vlog, but maybe every few days, maybe even one I save till the very, very end. But I do want to take you along with me because we got some beautiful sights to see and we got some really fun things that we're going to be doing. Here we are in Killarney National Park, going to a waterfall. I want to tell you guys a story about something that I figured out last time I was here in Ireland, and man, excuse the hair, the humidity's doing something wicked to it. But I was at my last church, and that's when I first came to Ireland to go through this conference that I'm doing right now. And I was going through a lot of stuff at the time, a lot of personal stuff, and I was having issues figuring out really what I wanted to do in life. I was a worship pastor, I was enjoying it, but it wasn't fulfilling me. And it reminded me of something that my pastor would tell me, and he would tell the whole staff about not only being on the right bus in terms of your calling and your passion in life, but also being in the right seat. And just like right now, actually, we're going around on a bus, kind of traveling to all these different locations. Now, I came kind of after everybody, so everyone was already on the bus, had their own seats assigned, but not assigned, but they had their own seats that were kind of claimed. And I came after everyone was already here for about 4 or 5 days, and I had to pick from the seats that were available. One of the ones available was the very front seat. So here I was in the front seat of the bus. Well, not the front seat, this is the front seat. But this is like the most front seat that a passenger would sit in. And it also wasn't this bus, it was a different bus. But back to the story. I was sitting in this front seat because I kind of didn't know everyone. They were all back there chatting. I didn't really want to, I kind of wanted to ease into the group, They had already kind of formed their bonds and all that kind of stuff. And I was sort of easing in. I was 3 or 4 days late, right? For the whole 2 days, I had kind of this piece of metal that was sticking into my knee, to my left knee down on front, and I didn't want to make a fuss. I didn't want to make a big deal, so I was just kind of dealing with it. So for these 2 days, I was dealing with this, trying to ignore it, trying to find a way to kind of move around and sort of make it fit. But ultimately, it just wasn't working. I wasn't comfortable. Because of that, I was kind of irritable. I wasn't able to get some sleep, so I was sleep deprived. I couldn't really get to know people very well because I was so focused on this little stupid piece of metal. Till eventually what I did on the third day, I asked the person who was sitting behind me if we could switch, and she graciously did. So what I did is I stood up, I moved back, and I was much more comfortable. I had better leg room, I had better views outside, and I could get some rest. I was closer to the people in the back so I could chat with them a little bit more. And it was a really good trip. But where am I going with this? What does all of this have to do with a really important lesson that I learned in Ireland? I learned that being up at the front where I wanted to be for my own reasons really wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. In fact, taking a step back, sitting in the seat behind me, and getting in the right seat for my situation, for my time on that bus, was exactly what I needed. And not only did that teach me humility, but I also learned that sometimes what you're doing for a job and what you think you're passionate about is not actually what you should be doing. For a lot of my life, I was so focused on being a worship pastor, so focused on getting to that role, that title, having that responsibility, being up front, being the guy everyone looked to and was like, yes, your worship was so good that weekend, or that song you sang, you did it so well, I really felt the presence of the Lord. And those aren't bad things to aspire to. But I found out very quickly that that wasn't my passion anymore. And though I loved worship, and I'm not going to stop, what I was passionate about was creating online communities, places where people can come and feel at home in a digital space, and being able to help people by resourcing them with things that they may not have, whether it's worship, whether it's systems, whether it's processes, and helping this digital and online space become a reality. And it took coming to Ireland for me to realize that I was in the wrong seat on the right bus. Both physically on the tour bus, but also I was in the wrong position within the church. I'm not a worship pastor. I'm someone who wants to foster and help online communities in the digital space grow. And ultimately, I think that's why I love the Worship Portal, and I've been so appreciative of the impact that it's had, and just YouTube in general, because the opportunity for growth, the opportunity for impact on YouTube and in these digital spaces and these online communities is it's untapped. There's so much. So I'm not going to stop leading worship. I'm not going to stop playing on worship teams. I'm not going to stop, loving gear and chasing after a great tone on the electric guitar or getting that right plug-in. I'm not going to stop doing all of that because I love worship and I love what it represents. But now I always come back to where my heart is and my passion is, which is online community. That's one of the reasons Ireland is so special to me, because it took coming here when I didn't really want to initially, back in 2019, to figure that out. And I guess one of the really cool things about that is I get to now pour into worship leaders and train others up and raise others up to fill that role that I loved so much, while being able to pour into communities like this and build communities online and build the digital ministry. I get the best of both worlds. Plus the views here aren't that bad either. Here I am in Dublin, St. Stephen's Green Park to be exact, to finish up this story. And why did I share it? Ultimately, I was really frustrated and struggling in my life just to try to figure out why I was so upset when I was doing what I felt like I had been called to. And maybe you're feeling that same thing. Maybe you're feeling that same frustration. And for you, maybe it is as simple as you're on the right bus, you're going where you need to go, but you're in the wrong seat. And what will it take for you to get in that right seat? One last little note, I filmed this over like 4 days. It's pretty complicated to keep a story along the same line in 4 days, so I hope it made sense. And if it didn't, I'm sorry. And just a quick finish to this vlog is where I'm staying for the next few days. I mentioned at the beginning of the video that I'm here for a conference leading worship, and this is where we're staying. It's Castlewellan Castle. It's a beautiful place up in the north of Ireland, and it's just a beautiful spot to stay. There are definitely worse places to spend 5 days.